Hey guys, I just thought I would make a video real quick. I was watching a black pill video, and I was thinking, they were talking about the boomers kind of look, the baby boomers, they kind of look down on the millennials and the Gen Zers, and some of them do. I mean, some boomers don't care one way or the other, but I mean, some do. And even the Gen Xers kind of catch it sometimes from the boomers, and it's what makes this really tough is I don't think the boomers understand, and I think what people don't understand in general about, like, the boomers will look at it and say, well, the reason we're making it in life and you're not is because we worked hard. We did this, and we were fair, and we did the best we could, and we dated women. It wasn't no big deal, and we had several dates, and then we kind of settled down, sowed our oats, and we settled down and had a family. And and the reason you're not making it is because you're just not trying to get with women, and you're not trying to grow as a person, and you're just not working hard, and blah blah blah. And I think what the boomers don't understand, and maybe if they would introspect a little bit, they would understand this, is that society was really laid out for them. And I don't think they understand that. I don't think it's something they can comprehend, how great America was. You hear people say, we love America, and like with the blacks kneeling at the anthem and everything, and I'm not going to get into that. I'm just using it as an example. When you got people, don't you kneel at the flag? America's great, and they're, of course they're saying, no, we don't think America's great and all that stuff. And the reason the boomers say America, and the boomers, the reason they say America is so great, and a lot of Americans say America is so great, because it was great. Wasn't perfect. No society's ever perfect. Okay, it never is. But man, America was great. Now the World War II generation would understand us more. Many of them are gone now. I should say most of them are gone now. And the Boomer generation doesn't understand. And now my mom grew up kind of poor, because it's a weird story I'd have to get into with my granddaddy. He chose sharecropping. It's bizarre, but I don't know why he did that. But what I mean is, even then, of course, they were women. They could still raise their stakes. They still could, because they're women. Men have, as Rollo Tomasi says, and he's right on that, men have to become something women just are. A man doesn't have to... he doesn't have to do, or she, I should say, doesn't have to do anything. He does. He's got to get a good job. He's got to approach her. He's got to do this. He's got to be good looking enough for her. Because we all know, and it's been this way for a long time in America, much less before we were born, the man has to impress the girl. He's trying to win her to him. It's not the other way around. And what they don't realize, and the World War II generation does, is because they knew what it was like to... Everything wasn't going their way. Society was rough. It was tough. Many of them were poor. My grandfather did not get married till he was 32 years old. That would have been considered grandpa age when my mom was younger. Yeah, that didn't happen. 32, what's your problem, man? Good grief, grandpa, what you doing? And he would understand it a little more, how hard life can be. I mean, don't get me wrong, he was kind of one of them too. If you just work hard and, blah, blah, blah. And back then you could, because everything was set up for them. And I'm going to get into some reasons why it was. Not the World War II generation, the baby boomers. And they'll say, well, the reason you're not succeeding is because of this and because of that. Well, let me ask them. And I'm not defending everything the millennials do. I'm not defending everything the Gen Zers do. I'm not. And I'm not defending everything the Generation X did, because I do think they turned morally away from America's founding. I do, but I'm not going to get into that today. But yes, I do think part of the blame does lie with them, but it doesn't all lie with them. Let me give an example. Boomers, did you grow up? I mean, no boomers are going to be watching this video, but, this is what I would ask. And I would even ask some people that, look at my videos, because I get this crap a lot. Oh, I don't get why you say this and why you say that, and I don't get why you're so down all the time, and why are you so negative? My sister used to tell me that crap all the time. You're so negative. I don't like being around you. You're so negative, And I would ask them this, and I'll give you some reasons why. Number one, did you grow up without a father? Did you have your father there? Because statistics and scientific studies, it's been countless stuff done, shows how detrimental it is to go without a father. It's really bad, especially for a boy. It's bad for a girl too, but a girl always has a way out. And that is to get a man and become pregnant and have a family. Gives her purpose. Even if her home life is just garbage. A man, he's got to make something of himself. And the thing about, not having a father, it's a lot like when you... It's so hard to describe, but when you go without a father, you miss out on things. I'm just going to talk, I'm not going to do the scientific studies. There's a book that was written on this. It's called The War Against Boys by Warren Farrell. I'd ask anybody to read that book. It's an excellent book. He laid it out, and he was a stepfather. He said, I thought, I'll be good. These kids, just because they don't have their biological father, I can do it. I'll be a stepfather. And he learned, the studies and everything else show that it's not that easy. The stepdaddy just doesn't walk in, and he admitted it. Because he said, I was one of them that believed that. But I'll give you an example. Most of you that had fathers, and I'm not going to get into having a bad father. I don't think that's real good either, especially if he's not there. But did you have a father that was, number one, there, period? Number two, was he there but he wasn't there? He was a father but he was gone out of town, working all the time, or maybe he just didn't take up time with you. I'll ask any of them, did you have those things? Because I went without all of those things. And a lot of kids in America are growing up without that. Especially boys. A father teaches a son things. Number one, if he sees the good example in the house, number one, of a father working, providing for his family, and doing the best that he can, that's going to inspire that young man. He's going to look at that, and he's going to look at that, and go, okay, that's what I'm supposed to do with my life. I'm not saying that's always the best thing, but anyway, it's still better than nothing. Number two, a father can also, he teaches a son how to do things around the house sometimes. He teaches him how to be a man. He teaches him how to do, like I said, I'm not saying every father. We obviously know there's bad fathers. But a father teaches a son how to do these things. By the way, if you're wondering why I'm pausing, I'm trying to get this music thing set on here. But it's a father just helps a son. He trains him. He teaches him. He sets it by example. And the boy is going to copy his father most of the time. He's going to copy the father, the way the father acts, his personality. Not always, but most of the time he will. And it's just very important for a son to have that. Most are not getting that, and they become very feminized. Because and it's not the mom's fault all the time, but a lot of times. Now, my situation, my father did not leave us or abandon the family. He died. My father died of cancer, for people who don't know. He died a week before my 5th birthday. And so I grew up without a father. Detrimental to me. Costed me big. Also, many times, kids that grow up in single-parent homes, especially a mom, are going to wind up in poverty. I was in poverty. I was at the lower end. When my dad was alive, we were doing pretty well. We would have been middle class. Matter of fact, we would have been very comfortable where we lived at that time. My dad, he had bought a boat. He had built a swimming pool for us. We were middle class, man. We were pretty good where we lived. And when he died, that was it. Sucks, man. Wasn't much I could do, though. We stayed in that house for a long time, but we ended up moving here. And of course, this house is smaller and it's near the city more. I grew up out in the country. I liked it better. I don't like it here, and kind of sucks. But that's the point. Growing up without a father is a big deal, especially for a son. Number 2. Let's move on to the next one. Did you grow up in a good economic environment? Were there a lot of jobs available where you lived for working men, working class men, not college educated? I don't think so. I mean, I think so, I should say, for you guys. There was plenty of opportunities before I was born. Oh yeah. Jobs had really started popping up. As long as you were willing to work and get out there, you could make a pretty decent living for yourself. And the wife would not have to work. The husband could pay the bills, the wife could be home with the kids, the families could be more stable, blah, 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 blah. That is becoming less and less likely now as jobs have left the country. It's not always easy to get a college degree, so men are ending up more poor. It's just the way it is. Women in major cities now are making more money than men, and it's not good. Not good at all. And it's having a detrimental impact. That did not exist for my family. That did not exist for the boomers. They had it really good. Matter of fact, they had it great in that way. A man didn't have to go to college to get a good job. He could get a good job anyway. There were plenty of factory jobs, sawmills, lumber area, that he could work at. And as long as he wasn't lazy and disabled, he could go. And he could get a wife. Because most women back then didn't work. Most of them didn't work. Most of them did not go to college. They were willing to be housewives. For better or worse, they were willing to be housewives. So marriage was intact more. And like I said, the man didn't have to have the woman work. He made enough money that they didn't have to work and actually could be comfortable. As long as they just didn't blow all their money. So, that was a major issue. Nowadays, if you don't go to college, you're pretty much finished. I love the manosphere, and I know a lot of these manosphere writers, they're really critical of the education system, and I'm not defending much of it. I think a lot of it's just a factory to crank out Marxist, Marxist communist believers a lot of times. But it's true that if you don't have a college degree of some sort, you're in a lot of trouble. You're just not going to be able to get work because there is no good jobs. At best, you're just going to get a crummy job most of the time. But let's move on to the next point. Number 3. Were you neurotypical or were you neurodiverse? I'm going to explain what those mean. These are autistic terms. Neurotypical means that you're pretty normal. You're pretty normal socially. You're pretty normal coordination-wise. You might be pretty normal height-wise. Everything's pretty normal. So you're going to be able to function in a modern society. You'll be fine. You may not make $1 million, but you're going to be okay. Neurodiverse means you got neurological problems. You may have social problems. You may have emotional problems because of it. You may have physical disabilities. I am neurodiverse. And it is detrimental in your life, depending on the level that you have it. That's why they don't call it as much anymore autism. They call it the autistic spectrum, because it truly is like a line, like a spectrum. On the far end of it is people that are barely autistic. You barely notice it, and they barely notice it, other than maybe a few social problems, but it's not a big deal. They'll make it. It's not perfect, but they can make it if they work hard enough. Then on the extreme other level at the end, you have those that cannot function in society at all. They cannot take care of themselves. They cannot financially, provide for themselves. They're in trouble. And then in the middle are those that are just kind of in limbo, and usually they struggle too. I'm kind of in limbo. I'm kind of in the middle. And it's really tough. I have coordination problems. I have motor symptom problems. I have memory problems. I have social problems. And all of these things are detrimental. Number one, they're going to be detrimental in you having many friends, because people aren't going to understand. Kids certainly aren't. And they're going to think you're weird. And they're going to call you a weirdo, and they're going to make fun of you. As you grow up and you move into adulthood, it's still going to be tough, because people may not make fun of you. They may not do those things, but they're not going to associate with you. They're not going to hang out with you much. You're just going to be a little ostracized if you're at a job. And you may even not get hired for the job because you have such poor social skills you can't do the interviews. Interviews are a big thing nowadays. You may not be able to do this because you're so socially awkward. You have high anxiety. It's going to really bother you, so you're going to come across poor in those interviews, and you won't get the job. And you can't socialize, which is an important part of some jobs. You got to be able to get along with your coworkers. That's very hard for autistic people. I'm not going to get into all that here, because that'd be a video that would take forever. But let's just say it is. It's a big problem. What if you have motor coordination problems like I have? You have memory problems. Well, you're not going to be able to do a job that has to do with a lot of memorizing and, jobs like that. And you might have intelligence problems. You may have a lower IQ. Well, that matters. Matters gigantically today. If you're stupid, and I don't mean that in an insultive way, you're not very intelligent, you are going to have a hard time in this job market. And if you are uncoordinated, that means you're not going to be able to do construction jobs. You're not going to be able to do any of those kind of things because you're uncoordinated. You could hurt yourself. You could hurt other people. And you're also going to be slower. I even had trouble when I was young working at a grocery store. It's why I lost the job, because I couldn't do the job. I just couldn't do it, And it's tough, but, what do you do? There wasn't really much I could do. It's so frustrating because you just get so tired of suffering with this, and I'm one of them, and that's what I'm asking these boomers. Did you have those problems? Autism was rare in their day. I bet you most people didn't even know what it was, and they don't know what it is much now because people are so stupid. They didn't even know what that was. That wasn't even an issue. I think it was 1 in 1,000 or 2,000 kids. That's so rare, that you're going to see that illness. And that's just something they didn't have to deal with. So they were normal. That meant they could get normal jobs. They could, do construction or do some kind of factory job. And they would be able to do the speed good enough. They would be able to pay the bills. That is not the case anymore today with autistic people. They're just not going to be able to do that. A lot of autistic people are not going to be able to do those jobs. They can't. I'm one that there's no way I could do those jobs. I couldn't do it. I'd get fired. And number two, a lot of autistic people, I think it's safe to say they don't have the speed, and many of them don't even have the physical strength to do these jobs. We have low muscle tone a lot of times. I did as a child. And then of course up into my young adult years. And it really has an effect on you. You just can't do a lot of stuff. I was terrible at video games. I didn't have the coordination and the skill. I wasn't any good at them. That's one reason I don't play video games. And I guess then the final thing I could use, I can't think of every point because I've had so many things go against me. As a matter of fact, I'll give 2 points. I'm going to save the best one for last. The next point, were you short? Now this is for men. This doesn't matter for women. People can care less. Were you short as a man? Are you a small person? Are you under the average height? The average height for a man in the U.S., according to stats, is 5'9". So if you're 5'9" and you're over it, then that means you're a little above average. And obviously, if you're over 6 feet, then you're above average. That's the funny thing. I'm 5'6", obviously below average. Many women are my height or they're taller than me. That's going to affect you in the dating market. Women don't want to marry a man shorter than them. They don't want to marry a man, a lot of times it's even their height. They want tall men. I remember watching a documentary where the women were talking about, it's just sad, they're sitting there talking about, the woman, and I can imagine if this was the other way around. She goes, I can't help it, I'm just into tall men. And I'm just thinking, imagine if that was the other way around and a man said, I don't want fat women, buddy, I want a slim, hot woman. That's what I want. I'm just not into these fat hogs. Imagine if a man said that. He'd be destroyed. But it's okay for women, to have their preferences and have their likes. The society won't criticize them. She's just a woman, blah, blah, blah. Being short as a man is so detrimental to you. Obviously not every man, but yes, a lot of men. And they will compensate for it because they hate being short. That's why they call it short man's complex a lot of times. I'll give you some good examples trying to describe all this. Short men get picked on a lot. I know I got picked on. Now, it wasn't as severe as some of the kids I've seen on YouTube and think, man, some of these kids, God, I had it easy compared to them in the bullying department. But I was bullied, and I went through a lot. And my mom just doesn't understand that. Never went through stuff like that. She doesn't know. Never was really hammered. I struggled with everything. Every time I walked, I was mogged. Right? They call it that in the incel community, mogging, because I was shorter than everybody else. Most people nobody was shorter than me, hardly. It was always my height. They were either my height or, of course, obviously most of them were taller. And it really breeds a lot of insecurity, lack of confidence. And, of course, like I said, I was autistic. I failed at everything. So I had no confidence. And, by the way, MGTOW Dictionary is right about that. Confidence comes from success. If you're not good at much of anything, you ain't going to have confidence. Sorry. It's not going to happen. And obviously, if you're not good with women, naturally, you ain't going to have confidence with them. I'm with him on that. He's exactly right on that. The hard thing, too, is being short. It just hurts you in so many ways. You're not respected by other men. They bully and treat you like crap. They look at you as beneath them. You will get domineered by men. I have many times in my life, even in my own family, by the men that I do, domineering because they look at you as less of a man. Most girls don't go through that from other girls. I'm not saying women don't have problems with women. I get all that, but they don't have that kind of problem. And with men, things are physical. You know, they want to knock you around. And if you ain't been through that, sorry. And the final point, did you go through benzo withdrawal? Have you been messed up by psychiatric drugs in your life? Because me being autistic is how I ended up on these drugs. I'd have never been on these drugs if it hadn't been for that. Not knowing it, of course, but I was. And these drugs now have wrecked my life. I'm absolutely destroyed by them. And will I ever be able to make a living? I don't know. You know? It has costed me a chance to have a life. It has costed me a chance to get a decent job. It has costed me a chance to make friends. It has costed me a chance to have a date. It has costed me a chance to have any of those things. And it's a major one. Even without all the other things, I would be hindered because of that. But not now. That just kind of finished me off. And by the way, I needed to mention, I hate going back, but it's just hard to remember everything. I need to make notes next time. I'm just not able to be doing that. When you are autistic, see, I'm blanking here. It's just what happens with my mind. When you are autistic, though, you have a preference to be alone. It's just in your brain. It's because, for some reason, a lot of autistic people have this, and so did I. You don't want the normal things that most people want. Part of the neurodivergency. Why do people hang out with other kids? They want friends. They want friends. Eventually, if it's a guy, he wants a girlfriend. If it's a girl, she wants a boyfriend. You go get a job maybe because you want a girlfriend or a future wife. You get that because you need the money to get a girlfriend, or maybe you go there to meet a girl. That right? Everything is for social thing. You want somebody, whether it's a friend or a lover, whatever. Right? Autistic people don't care about that, so they just stay away. If you don't want to be around people, you don't want to be around somebody, you don't go hang out with them. And that's what autistic people are like. We don't care about hanging out with you. And teenage boys and teenage girls are the worst because they're so immature. And autistic people are just a little more mature than that. They don't care about that. That was my issue. They were so snotty and so mean when I was in school and just stupid. I'm sorry, I don't know how else to put it. And I just didn't want anything to do with them. And that also played a part. But that's about all I got to say, I guess, for this video, guys. I know this video was a little rambly. I need to make a better video than this next time. But I just hope that anybody realizes, boomers need to realize, Gen Xers need to realize, millennials need to realize, all of us need to realize how much, the reason we may succeed may not always be because, we were just so amazing, or we just worked so hard, or we were just better, than those other worthless people. No, a lot of times it's not that at all. You just got a little lucky sometimes. Maybe society was a little better when you were there, when you were at that age. Things were a little more in place to help you have a good life, a good quality life. And I just hope this video helped anybody, guys. I hope this video helps you, and any comments you give out, I would appreciate. Like I said, I know I rambled a little bit, and this video was long, but I didn't mean to go that long, but yeah, I just hope it helps, guys. Any comments you have, I'd appreciate. Take care, guys. Have a good one. Talk to you soon.